I have somebody new joining me on the broadcast today, which is not new. Somebody who's been here many times. I have Lynnabel from Standing Stone Games.
Quest
completed. Hello,
Hey.
how are we all feeling?
Hopefully pretty good. I'm excited. We got a whole bunch of new stuff coming out. We got new archetypes. Did you know about that? Did you hear anything about this?
You know, it came out of nowhere. I had no idea, but no, I put this together. Like this is something that I put together, and I've been not talking about it for a very long time, and now I can talk about it, and I'm very excited.
All right. So, well, I'm excited too. And I'm very stoked because this is something that I've heard about for a little while and I've wanted to talk about and I haven't been able to. And I know we're both kind of in the same boat here, but I want you to walk me through, because the first thing I want to talk about is the initial note that was talking about the what's going on with the archetypes and why it's being done. But can you kind of like narrow in on like why you guys are really excited to do this archetype thing versus just, why not just make a universal enhancement tree?
Archetypes?
So there's 1,000 different reasons why we're going to give this a try. The most prominent of which is that a universal enhancement tree, in many cases, does not go far enough. Like, we can't really put things in your spell book, and we can't change your base feats. Like, if we wanted to make Sacred Fist by making a universal tree that was Sacred Fist, we can't give you the key system, for example, or make it scale off of a different stat.
That's true.
We can't, change your prerequisites and stuff like that, and modify your base armor class. But if we do this as an alternate, an archetype, we can do basically anything that we want. We can give you alternate spells, we can change your enhancement trees, we can alter your base alignment. Basically anything that a class is, we can modify. So Sacred Fist as just like one tree. This is kind of a not so great example, but an archetype can also be more than one tree.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, what if there's a healing tree in there?
Yeah, like if you wanted an archetype that, for example, was like, if you want to do something that would require enough more than just one tree, then we can do more than one tree and then change things significantly. Archetypes are also just really fun to design. They don't have to be broad. In fact, they benefit from being narrow, and it's cool to give people choices. Like with a universal tree, everyone can take it. It's universally available. It's an extra little bit of sauce on top of your build. And an archetype is like a big slice of the pie that the sauce goes on top. That's the metaphor we're sticking with. We're gonna go with that one.
It's not a bad metaphor, honestly. I don't hate it. I do have a couple of questions though. So we've got so it's Paladin, Cleric, and Bard. Was it intended to have a melee, a spell, and a specialist, like the 3 breakdowns?
Yeah, the Sacred Fist is melee, and Stormsinger is very, very castery. And then Dark Apostate is a lot of different things at the same time. It's very radical, I would say. We went with that split because we wanted to give different options. We were trying to go very broad, how could we not do Undead Cleric first?
So
the
Undead Cleric is so cool because I've made many characters. I've just multiclassed like a little bit of wizard with the main goal of like, I'll just have the negative and then I can heal myself. But then you come to the 2 realizations that 1, you have to multiclass, and 2, why don't I just cast cure spells? I'm a cleric, I get all those for free anyway. So this just solves both of those problems immediately. So I love that.
It's like a very iconic pen and paper role. The clerics in D&D are necromancers. Like they just are. They have a lot of necromancy and they do a lot of undead stuff. And being able to explore that with give it justice, you know what I mean? Dark Apostate is so much more now than it would be if it were a universal enhancement tree. It's the whole thing. It's the alternate spells, it's the alternate form, it's the complete package.
So what is
Quest completed.
your kind of like end goals with these types of changes for the player base? What kind of, because I know you're obviously talking about you want extra, you know, build options for characters, but like how come, you know, the resolution was let's make class archetypes versus, you know, new classes or even just more universal trees?
Well, we went into this a little bit in the overview page, but as it turns out, like, well, one, these are like they're more fun. I think that they're like largely a better feature than a universal tree, because we can do better things with them. But compared to also making a new class, I don't know if you keep up too much with pen and paper D&D, but we kind of ran out of classes.
Yeah, every time you come up with a new class, we've talked about this on stream, it's like, oh yeah, I want to make this, we should add shaman. It's like, oh, which shaman? It's like, well, they cast like druid spells and healing spells. I'm like, okay, so why can't you multi-class or just do this or use this epic destiny? It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, like there's only so many classes in D&D.
Yeah.
And the ones that we have left are they retread old ground significantly. Like, it sounds pretty bizarre to say right now, but Favorite Soul is kind of a cleric archetype when you think about it. It's not a class in 5th edition, you know what I mean? Like, it's a variant cleric.
Well, it's a variant sorcerer, actually.
Yeah, it's like
the divine sorcerer is the Favorite Soul.
You're right, but like that's the thing, is like it's a Favorite Soul is kind of already an alternate way to play an existing thing. Like, it shares a spell book, you know what I mean? Like, there's not an exclusive Favorite Soul set of spells. That being said, like, it's one of those things that was in 3.5, but if we start digging into the well of 3.5 things that are classes, it turns into bizarre stuff very quickly. Like, just weird. There's not a very deep well that are fleshed out enough, that aren't like from a strange source material that we don't really want to get into, or are, like, I would say most commonly, are pretty much identical to the classes that we already have. Like, almost all of the ones that are left are ones that are like, it's like Druid but a little bit different. And like, we don't want to make Druid but a little bit different and then put another button with a different picture of a Druid and be like, it's a different Druid, you just gotta trust us. Like, you know what I mean?
You'd
like,
rather
trust,
just like make the Druid. Yeah, you'd rather just have it be Druid but a little bit different.
Yeah, it's like, if we're gonna make Druid but a little bit different, why do we have to go through all the effort to make something that people would go, hey, this is just Druid but like a little bit different? Can we just not do that? Like, and the answer is, we should make Druid but a little bit different, but we can make it in a different context, in a way that, you know, explores new options and you can multi-class with it in a cool way. Like, it's just cool. Like, I'm very excited.
So I have a couple of specific questions about some of the actual archetypes, because I've been mucking about with them just a little bit and reading them over. So first, Paladin Archetype, very, very cool. 2 major questions. You qualify for Stunning Fist as a Paladin, but you only get the Wisdom Stunning Fist version. Is there going to be a Charisma Stunning Fist version? Because you just get the Wisdom one.
I have no idea. So I'm pretty sure the reason that you qualify for that is because I'm pretty sure Stunning Fist isn't actually a required monk feat. I think it's just not generally trainable.
Yeah, it just requires Unarmed Strike, which you get as a monk and also as one here.
Yeah, and like, if you don't have that feat, you can't take it, so almost nobody was actually qualified to take it. Yeah, I have no idea. There's definitely a lot of very bizarre, like, because we're kind of messing with the core fundamentals of DDO here. There's definitely a lot of questions that are just like that we're going to need to run down. And it's like one of those things that we want to run down with the players. Like, we wanted to give everybody a chance to like look at this and then say, what do you think we should do? Because there's a lot of very strange answers to these questions that we've come up with, and like, you know, if we could work together on this, I think we'd come up with a better option here.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, if people have ideas and things, they should post them in the thread.
Yeah, we've made like 1,100 million different threads on the forums. So if you're looking at this and being like, I have a great idea on how to equitably split up specific class mechanics in a way that doesn't explode the fabric of space and time, then now would kind of be the time to deliver that. But yeah, like, overall, I'm just very, very, very happy that I can finally talk about this feature. I've been working on this for several months and have
Said to stay completely silent and sit in the dark.
yeah, it's just good. It's just a good. I'm just really happy that we're doing this. I think that's like such a like it is something that it's new. It's a new thing to DDO. Like it's not a revamp of an existing feature. This is something that is entirely new and that is going to be exciting for players to figure out.
Oh, I just realized that the Sacred Fist tree is very different than the forum thread in game.
That's probably true. I'm pretty sure I copied and pasted the thread that I was using, and it's probably just completely wrong.
Yeah, there's so many different things here. Holy moly. Cool. So a few questions that I have for you about. I'm just gonna keep drilling down some of this stuff. So Paladin, Sacred Fist, very cool, punchy Paladin. Sacred Fist is I think is a complete divine or champion. I can't remember, but it is
a complete divine. That is. Yeah.
So it's a straight up enhancement or a prestige class. When it comes to Sacred Fist here, there's a lot of charisma stuff, a lot of cool things. But Sacred Fist doesn't have the trance, so no divine might. And they don't get charisma hit and damage anywhere built into the actual tree. Is there kind of like meant to be a bigger focus on like strength or dex instead? Actually, you don't get dex hit and damage either. It's just strength.
Short answer is yes. That's the current version of the tree, is not actually including either of those two things. Like that's the truth. That's what I got.
Yeah, no problem. That's good. Because I feel like I don't know, something could be there. Man, you absorb 25% of fall fire damage. So I'm just seeing this for the first time because it's in game. Damn, this is cool. Why Radiant Servant?
Oh.
Because I know that obviously you can't use a shield, so Vanguard's no good, but what happens?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like obviously Vanguard has gotta go. Like Vanguard not no good, no synergy, can't do that. I think that it basically came down to Radiant Servant because it's just very different. Like it's just very, 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 very different. And like I think that it would open up a very strange Paladin healing archetype kind of a thing, which I think will be very fun.
As somebody who's always wanted to make a Paladin healer, that does seem very cool. Oh, there's the Paladins had like a, I guess, Exalted Cleave, Exalted Smite, Avenging Whirlwind. Are those meant to be there, or is it supposed to be the key strikes that are in the thread?
I think they. Let me think about this. I am 99% sure that what is in the tree is supposed to be there because, believe it or not, yeah, the whirlwind, yeah, the whirlwinds are definitely supposed to be there, and the Exalted Smite actually ended up, it's actually now the exact same enhancement as the current Exalted Smite. Like that's actually just a copy, rather than having a different one that costs key. This is the rare case in which it is, for some reason, just simply impossible to implement another Smite, and I don't know why. So it's just going to use Exalted Smite.
Or do you think you might be able to change up the animation?
I hope so. I'm pretty sure that what is happening... I'm looking at your stream right now.
Yeah, because I like regular punch with it.
Yeah. Like the flow between hand wraps and unarmed is very strange because they used to be non-weapons and would have their own separate combat flow, and then when they were changed to weapons, now they kind of loop through the like unarmed. But that's like the punch kick kind of stuff, and like that's not a very good Sacred Fist from a visual perspective. So we can definitely take a look at that.
Yeah. The other thing is, if there's nothing here, that means nothing costs key.
That's a good point. That's definitely something that I had really hoped that these things would cost key. I'm sure I could probably get them to cost key. How hard could it be? I say knowing it's probably impossible.
Would you be against the idea if people had ideas for things that could cost key to go into the tree for people to post them?
Oh yeah, please do them. I'm pretty sure Key Shout costs key, so that's like
true.
One
Key
thing.
Shout does cost 5.
Yes.
So that is true. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we can just get really weird with it too. Like maybe if you're a Sacred Fist, like a whole bunch of weird stuff costs key, because they're like in their own cool silo from how the rest of the game is constructed. But yeah, like this is like just it's a very new feature, so we're still kind of hustling some of this stuff out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm assuming that this isn't coming out tomorrow. Like, there's going to be some time to kind of go through and adjust and update some of these pieces as well.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's in this update that we actually haven't even previewed that was in the producer's letter, like the temple rework and like.
Oh, that's
we
also in
haven't
this
actually,
update? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean that's what the producer's letter.
That's
said,
what the
I'm pretty
producer's
sure.
letter said, yeah. It just
Okay.
wasn't in this one. Another question specifically about the Paladin tree here. Just kind of looking over it. The sacred flame, there's like the sacred flame damage with like all the light and what have you. Is that also going to get like extra scaling somewhere as additional dice? Because there's like there's now Dark Apostate dice and Sacred Fist dice, but there's no enhancement or augments or anything like that already in the game. Is that something that would release alongside of it, like extra multi-selectors in Draconic Incarnation, or something gets shoved into somewhere else as like an extra scaler, or in even the new Legendary feat?
Maybe if they're going to go anywhere in Destinies, it's definitely not going to be Draconic because both of those are actually divine themed. So I'd probably put them in like a divine tree. But no, we're not opposed to like adding Epic Destiny support for these sorts of things. Like ideally, they're just as supported as any other build option. They're just accessed very differently and have a very different set of design requirements.
Okay.
Like we're not here only to build just jank. We're here to build things that players enjoy and can use effectively. And if that means putting a little stuff in some of the Epic Destinies, I'm like, yeah, no problem. That's just kind of par for the course. We have to do that for any class anyway, except we have to do far less of it here because these are paladins for most intents and purposes.
Right.
So like some stuff is less broken by default.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just testing out some of the different abilities here. So moving on, I want to talk about Dark Apostate a little bit, because we were mucking about with Dark Apostate earlier, and it looks very cool. What's kind of like the some of the ideas behind, the whole Bane cursing sort of nonsense, where like you've got the curses, you've got the Banes. How does that fit into the whole like negative theme?
I mean, so like when we're trying to design new stuff, a very important part of that design is making it work with old stuff, because that way very clever players can go, this already fits with something that I was already doing, and kind of connect those dots. And I feel that the flavor of like specifically making this like very curse themed is one, I think that's pretty rad. I like that just from a flavor perspective. But two, in the hopes that players would find out some interesting and clever synergies with some build options that are already available. I also find that, like, I don't know, sometimes we support things because in the future we want to go back and make those the old things that we support. And curses are an underused spell. Like the cursed spell it's not really topping any tier lists. So the idea of like, buffing that up in a way that is cool and thematic and players might want to interact with seems like a lot of wins in short succession rather than making an entirely new type of thing that they're doing.
That makes sense. I think it's great. I actually like the synergy that exists between the different trees. I think that's really cool. Oh, I am just learning now that unless this is an active I have to turn on DD feet, follower path of the light.
Oh yeah, that's in the notes. So unless you are currently an elf and also have the Undying Court religion, you actually can't take the level 6 feat, which is a very, very specific and funny bug.
Interesting.
So it's just not there. Like,
because I was somebody like, I feel like something is missing, but now I see that there is something here, so that's all good. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Let me mute this. Okay. Outside of that, what is we've got the last one, which is the Storm Singer, which is very cool. Which replaces Swashbuckling with Storm Singing. It gives you a bunch of lightning spells, so it's lightning and sonic interplay, and apparently cold as well. How did that one come about?
Oh, well, like, the Storm Singer is actually something that in 5th edition bards have done, and like that they're They do a lot of like Thunderwave and stuff, and that's just really cool and fun. And we're like, that'd be cool. That'd be one of the cool ones to bring up and put into to DDO.
Right.
And what we really wanted is it's like they have Spellsinger, and the conjecture there is like, what could we do as a caster tree that would still be different enough from Spellsinger so people don't go, hey, this is just Spellsinger. Like, we don't want to do the same thing that, like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to be like, hey, this is just Druid again. You know what I mean? Like, we want something that is aesthetically and gameplay wise different than what they can currently do. At least like distinct. Moderately,
Yeah. Well, it's because Spellsinger has like the crowd control effect, the enchantment DCs, and other stuff, so you get like mass hold and what have you. And Stormsinger is like no, millions of damage of spells, Iceberg, Thunderstroke, and stuff like that, which is all very cool.
Yeah, though what's pretty interesting is that like, so they actually do get lightning spells in their spell book.
Yeah.
Which is it's fun. I like that. I'm really glad that we were actually able to make that like that kind of base functionality happen. That being said, I don't actually think that players are going to cast those spells. I think that they are going to, they're going to cast cold and sonic spells, and they're going to spec into the spell power. But it is better to cast a sonic or cold spell and get the proc than it is just cast lightning and not get the proc.
I was going to ask you, do you know if that proc, when you cast it, like there's the effect where you inspire an ally, do you know, and then they can proc it, do you know if that scales off spell power at all, or if it just does raw damage?
I actually think it scales off of your spell power when you cast it.
Oh, and then for the entire duration of the Bard song, they get that spell power.
Yes. It does not proc the freeze though. Like there's a freeze in
the stun effect or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it does not proc that.
Okay, interesting. So I guess one of the things that I think about is iconics. We've got iconic classes, they can't take archetypes. Is that intended, or is that just like a quirk of the system as it's currently in game?
So for their first level, they can't take an archetype because behind the scenes, like those are classes, like class levels.
Mm-hmm.
But you can reincarnate into, like you can lesser reincarnate into an archetype, and you can also multiclass into an archetype. Although you can't multiclass into an archetype if you've got levels in the base class.
Do I need a plus Heart of Wood for that? Like, let's say I play a Morning Lord cleric, and then I use a lesser Heart of Wood. Can I then choose Dark Apostate, or do I have to like?
Yeah, you can choose Dark Apostate. It doesn't count as a class swap to take this.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a straight, like we're kind of, this is the first time we've ever had to deal with something like this. So there's a lot of these questions, and we're like,
like I think this is how it works.
Comes together, like
yeah, it's all happening like in the moment, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So since the note said that they're like faster and easier to design than like whole classes, which like makes sense. Does that mean like what if, depending on how these land, obviously public perception, that sort of thing, whether people like it or not, whether things go well, whether sales are good, do you buy these? How does that work?
Oh, they're free. Like you can just pick them. You can just pick them if you would like.
How much does that cost?
None. No money.
So, is it like a certain type of credit card? Like, I'm confused. No money card?
No,
I've never heard of that one.
So you don't pay anything. It's because we want the people to play them.
We're getting a new thing, and it doesn't cost any money?
Correct. This is to make players have fun. Does
it cost model. Like? Am I going to get less DDO points from this?
No. You will have to pay us $700 million for the bank upgrade, and I mean you specifically, Strimtom. Like, we're not going to release it until you pay us the ransom.
Oh, that's no problem. I'll just call up my old friend Jeff Bezos, and he'll pay for it for me.
Yes,
that's all good. Very cool. So it's free. I love that idea. I'm a big fan of free. Free is a good cost for me. It's very cost effective for what I like to do. I just realized this paladin gets Cure Moderate Wounds spell-like ability right away. That's so nifty. I have no idea how to think about this. This is very cool.
Yeah, so a fun fact about the Radiant Servant Paladin tree is actually that the developer Eladrin actually made that for us 11 years ago. So I'm not really 100% sure how this kind of came together, but it did.
Oh, my hands glow with sacred fire?
Yes.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice that. Oh, that's so cool. Another question. Radiant Servant, the capstone gives wisdom. Is that going to change to charisma because it's paladin or what?
Oh, that'd probably be a good idea. Like I did not actually make this tree. If you can believe it, somebody else made the Paladin Radiant Servant tree 11 years ago, and I went, oh, okay, and put it in the actual data. Yeah. So, and then actually I found that out after we had already decided on Radiant Servant. We're like, yeah, Radiant Servant seems like a good fit for the third tree, and wouldn't you know it, there already actually is one. So I've never seen that happen before in all of my years developing for this game. I don't understand how that actually happened. Like I've never in my life had someone else make a tree from the past for me.
And you just slide it in there. It just works.
Yeah. No, that's a good note. I'll change that right now, actually, while I'm thinking about it. I also fixed the cores for Divine Disciple. So there's two things wrong with them. One is that the names for both of the core 2s are just wrong.
Yeah.
And two is that they're switched. They're switched in location.
Yeah, because
so
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that they're duplicated, it's that they are identical but technically different and also in the wrong place. Small misconception. But technically,
it's like you thought it was wrong in one way. It's way more wrong than that.
Yeah, it's actually just very wrong. Is rather than minor wrong.
Another thing just to consider: would you consider disconnecting all the different paladin strike things on the Sacred Fist on the left side? Because
no. No, I think they look nice with the arrows. I think we should use arrows more often.
But it frees up so much space to take other fun things.
Well, I like the arrows, though. I do all my design work like this. I basically want as many arrows as possible.
Just connect
everything. Maximize as many arrows.
Yeah, can we just connect every tree, then?
Yeah, like make a big snake. That's a good idea.
Yeah, what if there's just we add a new tree, so maybe like a druid tree that's called like the Devious Snake or something, and it's like a poison-based druid tree, but every single thing is connected like a snake.
So you say that, but that's actually a phenomenally funny idea. I love that. I'm actually going to do that. Like, easy peasy. After Divine Disciple, really, the sky's the limit. Like, the lefty righty, like flippy floppy.
Yeah, the lefty righty was very, very cool.
I had to write in a non-insignificant amount of code in order to make that work. Like that was actually a preposterous amount of legwork in order to just have it go backwards a little bit.
Somebody was saying that you can take a capstone as long as you're level 40. You don't actually need to take the other points in between.
That makes sense. I probably didn't do the prerequisites correctly. What did I just say I was going to fix? It wasn't this?
Divine Disciple, Paladin, Wisdom, Charisma.
That's right.
Unless you already did that.
That's right. Radiant Servant. That's right. That is for some reason. Okay.
What was the other thing? Oh, I could just live bug report. I don't know if you caught this, but Dark Apostate, the second Wisdom requires enhancements you don't have.
The second Wisdom requires enhancement you don't. That's really funny. What?
Yeah, well, because so the first one is just +1 Wisdom, and then it connects to another one, and it says you need Charisma 1 or Wisdom 1. There's no Charisma 1, and apparently the Wisdom I took doesn't count, so I can't take it.
What? Where is the second Wisdom coming from? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wait, does it link to the other tree?
Don't try it. That will probably crash your UI.
No, it doesn't link to the other tree.
Don't press those. What?
No, that doesn't work.
Alright, it requires wisdom and charisma. So that's just a fake wisdom is what that is. That's like a different wisdom than the wisdom that's supposed to be.
That's okay. We can fix that in post.
That's okay. You should write that down because I have a memory like a Steve.
Oh, I already have it. I already have that connected.
Excellent.
Here. Other thing that I was going to ask: the spell-like abilities are they supposed to be the ones that are currently in the game, like the Chill Touch, or the new ones that have been posted on the forums?
So they're actually supposed to be the old ones for now because the new ones ended up being way too overpowered. So I gotta tone that down a little bit.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that swapping out for the inflicts makes sense, but
having the
swapping out
appropriate inflicts is fine.
yeah, and like, because there's another thing is that like it ended up giving you an SLA. The new one ended up giving you an SLA that you got a spellbook spell for, and it's like kind of not what we were going for. Like definitely the tier 5 flame strike has to get swapped out because it's not like a fire tree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, gotta get rid of that. But I'm sure we can improve the other ones. It's very strange. Like this tree gives you like there's actually like 15 spells in here that we're kind of juggling.
Yeah, there's a lot of spells in here, and where to put them.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll make sense. You already know that the cursed words where you like turn a dead to curse, and also the lifesteal thingy don't work, right?
That makes sense.
Like I press them and my guy makes an animation, and then nothing happens.
Okay, I'm surprised they even make the animation.
Oh.
Yeah, so like to be clear, almost all of the development work for this feature went into the part where you can enter into the game with them, and the actual data that went into them is definitely not like we're aware that this is kind of buggy, just to put it politely. Like we put a lot of like this is a little rougher than we'd like. That being said,
this is like an earlier preview than you want to put out.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of Lamanias, and this is very early because we want to be sure that this can change.
Yeah, you're
like,
giving
you know what I mean?
giving people ample time to put their feedback in before it's like all set in stone, because you're still building the features out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Before we, I have to actually fix this one paladin thing, because I know for a fact it's going to take 20 seconds, and the other bugs are going to take 17 years.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, there's so many bugs in here, but it's fun. Bugs are fun. You get to find them. I was always big into bugs when I was a kid.
This is very different. All right, +4 charisma. I mean, this should actually be +2 and +2, I think, because like wisdom is unironically part of the paladin repertoire. They are a wisdom spellcaster, so this actually should be +2 and +2.
Probably. There's something else.
Easy peasy, no big deal. This is like the one thing in our game that I can change with 20 milliseconds, and I don't have to have a heart attack.
Oh, so a cool change that was updated in here is the inflict wounds. Now you can have no target and they'll just cast on you, which is very cool. Like that's a really good feature. The inflict wounds mass spells don't affect anybody. They only affect monsters.
So has that always been broken?
Yeah, that's always been like that. So you can't heal yourself or other undead allies with them at all.
What?
Yeah, it just literally only hurts enemies, the mass ones.
All right.
So
I can go.
I don't know if that's a fixable problem, but it is definitely a problem.
I'm 99% sure that I can fix that problem. Probably.
Yeah. I think that's all the bugs that I found here so far. But yeah, and then as far as outside of that goes, this is definitely like more a self-interested question. Let's just say hypothetically we were to do another episode of Dungeons & Developer Insights, and let's say hypothetically we were to, instead of design like an enhancement tree or something else like that, a whole archetype. Would you be down with that?
Yeah, that'd probably be really cool. I think we definitely want to like keep doing what we're doing, which is we make entirely new things rather than try to adapt book stuff.
100%. The plan, what I was thinking is we would, I would get people to vote on YouTube as to what class to pick, and then on the day we would just take a theme, whatever the most popular theme is from chat, and then build that onto it.
That makes sense. I think that'd be really cool. That's like the best part about this feature and why I've just been so excited about it, is because it's so easy just to come up with cool ideas. Because like, unlike a class, and this is going to sound super weird, classes are hard to design because sometimes they are very complex, like they're too complex, but sometimes they're too simple, and sometimes ideas like for like, you know what I mean, like they're either too big or too small. But for an archetype, it can be just as big or just as small as you'd like. It can be as small as replacing some feats or as big as replacing all of the trees. You know, we've got every single building block available to play, so it doesn't actually have to be, you know, 3 trees and a whole new spell book and a whole new set of feats and then an icon I have to draw in Microsoft Paint and, you know, like 100 other different parts. It can be just one cool idea, and then that's the cool idea, and then there you go.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts about this system is the fact that you can basically, like what happened with the Paladin, where you made one new tree, and then you're like, also Radiant Servant, why not? Like, imagine you make like a rogue or something who's like a, you know, more of like a Sharn thug sort of deal, like big club style rogue, like just kind of like it's like big and bulky, and you give them a new like, you know, street thug tree, and then also you give them Ravager too. And it's like, wow, cool. Now you have this really wacky character, but they're like a rogue. I don't know.
Yeah, like that's the fun part is like, so like Sacred Fist is 2 different tests for this feature. One is that it's got a tree from another class that we didn't meaningfully change. It's just the same tree again. You know what I mean? And the other is that its other tree, like Sacred Fist, has some cool unique stuff in it. But it's like what internally I've been calling a monster mash tree, where it's Shin'Tao and Knight of the Chalice, like taking enhancements directly from those and kind of putting them together into one cohesive whole. And that's very different than taking Knight of the Chalice and taking Shin'Tao. Like that's a bit, even though some of the component parts are the same, it's like, you know, it makes a different thing at the end of it. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is like archetypes don't even have to be like entirely new ideas. Like what if there was a tree and it's all 4 savant trees at the same time? You know what I mean? Like that's not new, but it's not new, you know?
Yeah, it's just something. It's something that's just even slightly different. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
What else was I gonna ask? So as far as like the you know, the design here and the feedback, obviously we're still pretty early. Is there like a particular something that you're mostly interested in terms of the experience that people are gonna have with it? Like a piece of feedback you're most curious about?
I mean, kind of the whole thing. Like, I like this is again. This is very new. This is our first new, entirely new thing in a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and that means that like it's like we really want to know whether or not this feature is something that kind of fits cohesively into the whole of DDO systems. Like, you know, like we can you know, if Sacred Fist isn't punching hard enough, we can give Sacred Fist more punching. That's very easy. But if archetypes don't feel good from like a holistic standpoint, like the whole thing, then
Mm-hmm.
that's a very different story. So like, you know, putting it all together, like, does this feel good?
I think that for the most part, like some people get bogged down in the numbers that are things that can change, but I think the big selling point for me that I'm looking at is the word free. Like the fact that it's free, which means that it's just a new toy to play with, is kind of interesting. And I'm kind of hoping that will get people more focused on the like, you know, do they like the feature? For me personally, looking at this, I think the idea of having like a minor way to change your character but still do the same thing is kind of just like entirely reinventing a character class. Plus, it also doesn't cause the problem of like completely overwriting something that already exists because it comes with a rework. Like you could still just play a Divine Disciple regular cleric and not have to play a Dark Apostate and still have like the healing and stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like another big huge benefit here is that say you're just really not into Punch Paladin, like you think that idea is bogus and stupid, and you think the whole thing can just kick rocks and it's you hate it. Well, then you don't have to play it. Like you really just don't. It's not a required thing that you have to do, and like then just don't. You know what I mean? And that's
Mhm.
that's and I think that's I think that's cool because that means, and like you're probably saying like, well, why would you make things that people don't like? You know what I mean? And that's the big difference is that if we make an archetype and people don't like it, people don't have to play it, which means we can get really weird with them. Like we can make things
True.
that people probably won't like,
You can
and
make things
that's
that people
okay.
hate, but they're really cool, so they might be like really interesting at the end of the day. You're not really limited on the design space because it's not like it has to work with everything. Like I feel like when you release a universal enhancement tree, it kind of has to work with like everybody. You have to go, okay, how does barbarian do this, and how does whatever do this? But with these trees, you're just like, yeah, barbarian, but it's bowbarian now. Have fun, kids.
Yeah, like I don't know if we make hulking hurler that throws rocks and everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" Like that's the worst idea I've ever heard. And like, well, I'm sure somebody's like, "Oh, finally, I can bring my pen and paper, improvised weapons only throw barbarian
Oh
to life." And like,
no.
we're designing for a more narrow audience, and that's a really interesting place to be. I think that's just very different than what we normally do. Like we're kind of like designing everything for everybody, and what that means is that choices get all kind of muddled because it's like everything has to appeal to a whole bunch of different playstyles, and like
Yeah,
it shows
every
up a
tree
lot in
needs to appeal to
universal.
melee, please.
Yeah, it shows up a lot in universal tree designs. Like it's really hard to make a pure caster universal tree, and like Stormsinger has one thing that plausibly is for melees, and it's for other melees. It's not even for you, and that's okay because if you're a melee bard and you're like, wow, why would I want to get more caster stuff? Then like play your melee bard. That's a cool build. Everyone loves bard. You
Yeah.
don't have to, you know what I mean? Like we don't have to mess with base bard to make our cool thing. We don't have to mess with your build. We don't have to mess around with what's going on. We can just build cool things, and if you like those cool things, you're more than welcome to play those cool things. And I think that's just a very different type of design.
I literally agree with everything you just said. I'm just looking over Stormsinger now because I haven't actually seen it in game. Is there a reason why there's a blank in the tier 5 of Stormsinger and the Paladin tree? Because it says space intentionally left blank. Is it because you don't want to have too many things crowded up there, or?
There's a lot of different reasons why we leave things that are like we leave spaces in trees. Sometimes it's because we just can't think of a good idea. Like we're like, wow, everything we've come up with so far is not a good. So rather than put a bad ability in there that everybody hates, we're just not going to put anything. And sometimes it's because the other tier 5s are very, very strong, or there's nothing in there that fits thematically. There's a lot of different reasons, you know what I mean? And I don't know. Like if you think that there's a cool tier 5 that you want to see, you can tell us. There's more than enough time to add these sorts of things in.
Yeah, I think that's also something I like about you guys doing like the early previews, where you give people lots of time to say, hey, I do like this, or I don't like this, or I think you should add this, and you guys can like work on it and get it in.
This is definitely one of those features that, like Epic Destinies, we really don't want to just put out a week before release and be like, surprise, we're changing the entire meta very quickly, and good luck. Good luck, Matrim. Like get in there, and then that's it. And
oh man, that would be interesting. Just drop it on everybody.
Yeah, like there's definitely a time and a place for surprising people. Like we didn't tell anybody about the hounds in hardcore because it's a surprise. But
it was a great surprise, by the way. I loved it.
Yeah, I had absolutely nothing to do with the hardcore season. And I will say this, it is not my preferred way to play DDO. Like this is hardcore is not for everybody, and it's not for me. But it's also optional. So like
it is also optional. Yeah, you don't have to participate in it if you don't feel like it, or if it just doesn't interest you that much.
Yeah.
Question: does the lightning strike have its own internal cooldown?
I think it has a safety cooldown. I'm pretty sure. I hope so.
I don't know. I'm just like spamming SLAs at stuff, seeing what happens.
I think so. We also got some guitar riffs for when the proc goes off, and I want to hook those up at some point.
Oh, I found another bug.
Yeah.
Snowball Swarm doesn't work.
That's okay.
It looks like it does.
But it just doesn't do anything. That's okay.
Yeah.
Make sure you write that down because I know for a fact that I'm not going to remember any of this.
Yeah, don't worry. I don't remember anything either. That's why I'm literally adding to the bug report. So that's kind of neat.
Okay, well, it's at least playing against the visuals, so like we're good.
Doing
also,
something.
Yeah, like that's like 90% of the battle. The lightning proc itself is electric blue, which I think is pretty cool. But
oh, is it? I was not looking at the actual proc itself. Oh yeah, it is like it's like not like the regular white lightning. It's like a blue one.
It's a little blue.
That's cool. That's nice. And it uses your spell power. So if I have maximized and power on my spell-like ability, it actually uses that as the spell power.
I think so.
I think it is. Let's find out. I'm just going to keep testing it. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I like this. I like this a lot. Oh, man. Oh, man. Now I want to play the Stormsinger Bard. Apparently, I got to write down another bug. If you take tier 5 of the Horn, or if you take the Horn of Thunder and Stormsinger, it locks out everything because it thinks you took the Spellsinger one.
Yeah, that's because I was cheating. So that's another fun behind the scenes thing is that like so behind like each individual enhancement is its own little file, and we socket those files into a spreadsheet. And in my head, I'm like, they both have Horn of Thunder. I will simply put them in both places. And then as it turns out, that crashes your UI, so don't do it.
I see.
So that's a fun thing. Yes. We can also talk a little bit. This is something that I think people were very, very, very worried about how this ties into like completionists and stuff.
Yeah, completionist. So I noticed that completionist is now free now, whereas now you don't have to take a feat for it, which I'm a big fan because before completionist, you want to slot it into all your builds because it's like really good. But like, would I rather take completionist or precision, which changed my character, or a spell-like ability, which has like an impact? So sometimes it feels like the reward for completionist is kind of like it's there. You get the passive stuffs, but you don't get like the big one. And now it's free, which is very cool because it's very cool. I have completionist on 2 characters, and now it's going to be free.
Yeah. The other big thing is that so like these have their own past lives. Like they just have their own past lives. But those past lives tie into acquiring completionist. So like if you have completionist, then your completionist isn't going to go away if we add more archetypes, and which is good because we're like planning. I mean, assuming these land, because like if every single player hates this, then we're not going to just keep making them because we are capable of responding to feedback. But assuming they land reasonably well, it'd be cool to make a whole bunch of these, and it would kind of suck if you were like 3 lives away from completionist and now you're 17 lives away from completionist. Like you take a break from the game and then you come back and you're like, oh, never mind, I'm less than halfway there.
Yeah, that would very much suck if all of a sudden a bunch of lives just came in and ruined everything.
Yeah, and like it's just like we're building this feature to tie into stuff. We're not building this as like a weird, like we're not, if these were required for completionist and you didn't like our improvised chair throwing barbarian, and then you know what I mean, like these it's tough. And so that would go against our goal of making these as like alternate character options. So they tie into heroic completionist, but they can act as an alternate way of acquiring a specific class life. So if you've got all the lives except for Bard, either Bard or Stormslinger is going to qualify you. Like you just have to have a total of 15 across the classes, like 1 from each class or archetype. So you can't just only take Bard and that skips you out of Cleric. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like as an example, let's just say I hate Alchemist. Alchemist is my least favorite class, and I don't want Conjuration DCs from taking Cleric past lives because I don't want to play Alchemist. Instead, I can just do the Dark Apostate as opposed to Cleric and get the Dark Apostate past life, and it still qualifies me for Cleric, and I don't have to support Alchemist or something. I don't know why I hate Alchemist so much. I don't, but in this example, I'm not sure why. I think my character just knew an evil apothecary or something.
Well, that's the thing. That's another huge benefit that I didn't go over earlier that I really want to bring up is like, hypothetically speaking, say you're like, wow, or actually let me back this up. Hypothetically speaking, you are me, and you've been trying to do the lefty-righty, flippy-floppy Divine Disciple revamp for 4 years, and you cannot get time to put it on the schedule. And you're losing your mind, and you're tearing your hair out, and you put all this work in and all this code in order to make the capstone go in reverse for some reason, just because you really want Dark to go from right to left, and you cannot, for the life of you, convince anybody that this is good enough to allow you to dedicate the time to do that.
Right.
All you have to do is invent an entire new feature called Archetypes, and then, as part of one of the archetypes, you have time to revamp Divine Disciple.
And then you just slide it in. No one needs to know. Just slide it in.
Exactly. So that was my evil plan. But no, it's like that's something we talk about is like it's really hard for us to put together packages of what I'm going to call generically work. Like DDO is very broad. And so when something doesn't have a good enough anchor to be on the schedule, it's hard for us to like put it together. Like we did a Pale Master revamp a while ago, and it was with an unrelated quest pack, and it didn't really come together into like a cohesive update. You know what I mean? Like, we want to do balance changes or rework some core class, but like, the content is often set years in advance, and if it's not thematically appropriate, then like we don't really have a good enough way to tie that into current features. But if we make a new archetype, then people have a new way to play, and as part of making that archetype, we can schedule work around updating some of the core class features as a way of like putting it all together. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if I didn't have Dark Apostate, it's a hard sell for me to be like, hey, can I take a while and rewrite how point prerequisites work and make a left-handed Dark Apostate tree real quick instead of doing my other work I have to do? And the obvious answer is like,
work.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, probably maybe, but we have schedules and deadlines just like really any business does, and this is a really great way for us to organize our own tasks. Like we want to do these things, and now we have a really good way of saying, hey, we're doing these things, and it's themed around something that we can release and that players can understand.
Yeah.
It's really hard also to like Divine Disciple revamp, that's a really cool thing for existing players. If you know what Divine Disciple is, then you're like, oh wow, that tree's not good. So don't take that.
Yeah,
don't
take it back.
don't take that enhancement. But like, if you're not a DDO player and someone goes, oh wow, did you hear they made Divine Disciple go in reverse? That doesn't mean anything. Like that's not a headline feature. That's a revamp.
No one's gonna write an article about that.
Yeah, and like that's I'm not going to say like a concern, but that's something that we actually have to think about. Like, how these things are structured from a PR perspective is important. It's important to retaining players, generating interest, and like we don't want to get too clinical about like, the business aspect of like, how to retain players, but like, revamps are revamps, but it's not something new.
Yeah,
this lets us go, this is something new.
Yeah, you're not
this is something new.
Selling the product when you're just telling people, hey, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
we're giving you like something. It's a minor buff. Like no one writes, and especially in the MMO space, if there's a patch that comes through and makes a bunch of buffs to characters, no one cares. So like and I can give you one of the best examples. Even Outrage doesn't always carry over. The people that play Elder Scrolls Online right now, the community is in this insane uproar, and everybody is super mad at the developers. But if you don't play the game, you might not even know that. But it's the only thing you can hear about the news about that game because it's so inside of it. So you really got to sell something. Like patch notes, no one cares. But when it's like new Dark Apostate, everyone's like, whoa, Dark Apostate, whoa, and it's like blows your socks off.
It's like that's the thing is like this feature lets us organize our own priorities in a way that I think is a very important step for the team, and like that doesn't really ever come across from a player perspective because like obviously we're not here on the forums being like, ugh, my boss made me prioritize loot again. You know what I mean? Like politics to politics, but it's not about like, coworker disagreement. It's about like, in a larger sense, how do we organize our work? How do we put together something that impresses people and still lets us do all the quality of life stuff that we'd like to do? Because like obviously if we had unlimited time, we could revamp the entire game and make it the best version of the game. We don't have unlimited time. Like, there's time it only goes in one direction, forward.
Did you guys add time stop to the video game?
It is the best visuals in the game, and that's true.
Yeah, so just use time stop. Give yourself some unlimited time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no, this is cool. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to keep testing stuff. It is probably going to be a scenario where, I know this because it's an early state, obviously, there's going to be probably too many bugs to like really dig into some of the features. Sort of like how like the first incarnation of Epic Destinies came out and it was more like proof of concept more than anything else, which then evolved into something that I can't imagine wanting to go back to the old Epic Destiny system now. So like it's so much improved, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you guys do with this improved system.
Yeah. No, it's just cool. Like I from an internal perspective, being able to organize our releases so that we can still make cool things that excite existing players and also have time to do revamps. And then from a player perspective, they get new stuff. They just get new cool stuff. There's cool stuff to mess around with, and people are already talking about their cool new builds. And yeah.
Well, so since you're here and you work for, let's say, check Sandstone Games. So you guys recently, your patch note did what people in the business call a compliment sandwich, where there's so many cool features, and right in the middle, there was an execution that took place where the favorite soul class died in nerfs. Do you know anything about that, or can speak to what happened with that?
Well, sure. Like there's two different component parts to this. One is that as the person who personally did all the dice revamp for Holy Smite and the like, I accidentally thought they were single target spells and spec'd them out appropriately for single target dice. But as it turns out, they are actually AoE.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations
that one's
where
fine. That should have gotten fixed like a year ago, but
big oopsie on my part. So that was a clerical error, and that clerical error is squarely on my shoulders. So sorry about that. It's going to real dice for its appropriate. It's a level 4 spell, so that's a 1d6 plus 4 now. So there you go. As far as favorite solo caster levels, there's definitely a lot of internal discussion about that, and kind of like, I guess it might help to put some more history in how this came together. Like favorite soul has a bizarre amount of bonus caster levels because originally the spells that we're casting were atrociously bad. Like they were off the charts negative DPS, and so it took 16 bonus caster levels or some absurd amount in order to boost them into somewhat viability. But for years, they languished in a position where they were not worth casting. Like at one point, I believe Angel of Vengeance, if you're speccing entirely into it, is before its several reworks. You actually could not kill the Testojo, the Kobold, without running out of mana, which kind of rounds your DPS down to 0. Like we were in it's a bad spot.
It's a bad spot for sure.
Yeah, so this is the historical perspective. So as over the course of the game, there were multiple revamps to Angel of Vengeance's, point efficiency and its bonuses to its abilities and stuff like that. And then finally that culminated in the long-awaited Divine Spells Pass back when the Players' Council bullied me into it around about a year ago. And as part of this, all of the Divine Spells were given level-appropriate dice for their caster level that matched the Divine version of them. So a single target, like level 3 spell would get 1d6 plus 6 damage per caster level, in AoE be 1d6 plus 3, same as Fireball. Yep. So here's the big problem with that, is that the bonus caster levels from Favored Soul became an erroneous outlier, like a preposterous boost to spells that were now performing at the exact same level. But wait, they're actually better because it is much, much harder to resist spells that are light compared to other elements. If you're a sorcerer and you're casting a Fireball, 50 to 60% of the time, that Fireball might actually not do anything because you're hitting something that is immune to fire or is otherwise resistant. But it's very, 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 very rare to meet something that is immune to light. It's like, pretty much goes through everything unless you're an Eladrin and you're in that one quest in Vale. But like, those erroneous caster levels are doing some weird stuff. Now, that being said, if the caster levels in the cores, which are the ones that are changing, they only boost a specific subset of spells, and at endgame, those spells aren't the ones in the rotation that are actually making up the bulk of the caster Favored Soul's DPS. Like, there's actually very specific spells in that, and of those, I believe only 1 or 2 are ever really cast, compared to other stuff, which is like Holy Fireball and like the Divine AoE one that I put in from old... I can never remember the name of anything that I've personally built. I have no idea why. The one Divine that's like, Wrath? It's like Divine Wrath, that's it. And like, so a whole bunch of Favored Soul's current DPS rotation isn't actually buffed by those spell levels. Like, it's like not doing those.
Yeah. I think, so I actually don't disagree with any of that. I actually think that's all very accurate. The whole point of like, light spells being pretty much non-resisted is very cool. The main issue I think a lot of people run into is that it's like spell targeting. So if you play as like a wizard or a sorcerer or favored or like a bard, bards get Sonic Blast, which hits all the monsters on the screen. But clerics and Favored Souls don't get anything that hits all the monsters on the screen until level 7. Which means that your single target spells, if you're not killing a monster in one hit, it takes an immense amount of time to do anything. And I think that's where people run into a lot of problems. Is like, I think the damage reductions don't really affect the end game, so it's not a big deal, except for maybe Firestorm. But that still does a lot of damage anyway. I think it's mostly just like because of spell selection, maybe that's what people are running into as a problem, where the damage comes down, but then it just means it's not that you can't play, it just takes way, way, way longer than it did before. Or potentially even go back to running out of mana because, again, you're only hitting one monster at a time until you get to higher levels.
Yeah, well, if that ends up happening, we've got a lot of different avenues to kind of adjust this. And I think the important thing is that at the very least now, their caster levels and their dice are in the same kind of area that like Sorcerer is, for example. Like they actually, like before we were in a strange position where their spells were doing much less damage but were boosted in caster level. And then arcane spells were doing much more damage but had much less caster levels.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're putting them all on the exact same scale. So if there are problems, there are probably problems elsewhere, and they might be fixable on a more global level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's part of like our we're trying really hard to get rid of kind of like this like where a problem has been fixed twice kind of a thing. Like it needs like if spells are doing too much damage because they're doing too much less damage and then doing too much more damage, then like we're kind of making a weird 3-point teetering balance act with several interconnected abilities. Spells should just do their damage, and then we can adjust from there.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to look at it, as opposed to having each individual part of the, like, every single class has their own unique spell balancing and spell scaling. That is definitely a way better way to do it. Just, like, unify everything. Because it makes it easier to understand from a player's perspective, because you don't have to like think about each unique like element of each class and how each class works. Instead, you can just like understand it right away because every class like has a baseline similar functioning, and you move on from there.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Is like the some of the spells are they have a lot of very strange 3.5 accoutrement. Which is to say, some spells have erroneously, or I would say bizarrely low max caster levels. Like, Holy Smite was certainly doing some insano damage, but it also had a max caster level of like 15.
Yep.
And so, like, when you add more and more and more confounding factors to like a spellcaster rotation, it gets harder and harder to see the forest for the trees. I think what should have happened, like if you'll allow me to be critical of our design process here, is that we should definitely have recognized while doing the Divine Spell Pass that Favored Soul was going to need to have those caster levels removed. That was a trade that we had made. We were saying, hey, your spells may be butt tier, but you get like a lot of caster levels for those spells, so even though they're not very good, you get bonus caster levels. And then we should have gone, okay, now you're getting real spells, and those spells are going to do real damage.
Right.
But you're no longer getting those caster levels again.
Yeah, it's like, you should have ripped the Band-Aid off, but you didn't wait, and now the Band-Aid is all crusty, and the scab is growing over the Band-Aid, so it hurts a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a very visually gross example, but it's the best one I can think of.
Yeah, we gotta go back to the pie and the sauce as far as metaphors are concerned. Like,
yeah.
Everyone likes pie, and most people like sauce.
Yeah. Overall, I'm pretty stoked about pretty much everything that's on here, so I'm going to be looking forward to testing it out. I know you guys said there's more balance changes coming. Do you have any insight as to what some of these other balance changes we haven't seen yet are coming?
Oh, like in terms of like general balance?
Well, because you mentioned that you're like, oh, there's more stuff coming in later previews, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, that's the temple.
Like, that's just the temple that we're missing. Okay.
Yeah, like that's. We did announce that, right? Like, I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, no, it's in the producer's letter, the whole thing. Like, not the details about how it's going to get revamped, but that there's a revamp.
Yes. Well, the changes are pretty significant, and I'm quite happy to see this happen. So yeah, I don't think we have any more big like balance specific things that we're planning for this update, because like a lot of stuff got changed. So, I don't know, like, we kind of want to make sure all of our changes right now are refined and polished, and, like, obviously we really, like, there's just a lot of work still to be done on the archetypes, so, like, we don't want to bite off too much more than we can chew. Like, balance is a complicated act, so...
Did you have any hands in the tumbling thing, the experimental tumbling thing?
I did. Have you tried it?
I'm currently screwing around with it. It feels very cool. The only rub is the fact that your momentum starts again from 0, like you stop once your tumble's over. Because you start going right into the tumble and then it stops. Is there a way to reduce that time so you just keep moving forward?
I'll see about it. I did this
that would make the
specifically
tumble feel really good, because you still stop basically when you tumble, which kind of defeats the purpose of tumbling.
Yeah, I really wanted the experimental tumble controls to feel just like Dark Souls. Like,
Well, that's just it. It's because
impetus.
starting it feels like Dark Souls, and then ending it doesn't feel like Dark Souls.
Yeah. So it's very important to me. There are a whole bunch of other. I don't know if you've gone over the main release notes yet.
Yeah, I went over the main release notes. There's a lot of really fun bugs that got replaced, like the Fate Arc Illusionist familiars and stuff. Not constantly falling through the planet, which is very fun. I like that one. The Tabaxi damage is really good, so where it actually works, the hidden damage. Oh, there's House J favorite buffs to give me the works. Did they also last 60 minutes or no?
Yeah, that's actually a really funny thing. They currently still actually last only 30, so we're gonna take a look at that. Because the House J quality of life part came very, very, very late, like literally last night. So
Yeah.
I didn't have time to do the 60-minute part for that.
What else was on here? Oh yeah, this is the new spells. I thought that was kind of cool. Eldritch Knight dice. Oh, so we have Arcane Archer dice, Eldritch Knight dice, Vile Chemist dice, Dark Apostate dice, Paladin Sacred Fist dice. Do you think we could get a display for that in the plus tab?
No, and I'm not going to tell you why.
Oh, damn it!
Yes, I'm just not going to. This is a very rare for me, but the answer is no, and you get no explanation.
Okay, sure, I guess. It's something that I want though, so I'm going to keep complaining about it.
That's okay. That's what we want.
Yeah. What else? Base attack bonus is capped at 25. What's up with that?
Oh, it's a very complicated change. Well, behind the scenes it was very simple, but in practice,
yeah, you just put 25 and you say stop.
Yeah, like there's the 25 part is is not so hard.
Yeah, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Stop at 25.
Yes, stop at 25. So the important part of that particular change, is that a whole bunch of things that say, "Hey, I'm going to give you max base attack bonus." They actually say, "I'm going to give you base attack bonus as if you were a fighter of the same level." Like that's what Divine Might and Tensors say. And the complicated part of that is that if you're a pure fighter, you actually have less base attack bonus than somebody who's getting fighter powers by magic. And that, I think, is just not good. It is very weird that if you're a fighter, you need to actually scroll tensors in order to get max base attack bonus. Like, you're a pure fighter. Base attack bonus of 1. You should have the cap.
Yep,
like, it doesn't make any sense. And anyway, so long story short, this is one of those changes that has a variety of very small reasons that individually would sound like I'm an insane person, but come together into, I would say, a cohesive singular reason. Like, for example, making it so that if you're a DPS character, you're de facto required to scroll tensors every 1 minute and 4 seconds to break up your combat, is not very fun. It's also kind of silly that someone with a base attack bonus of 1 needs magical assistance to get mass base attack bonus. Also, it's not a stat that we wanted to keep going up. I don't know if anyone here knows this, but just to be clear, our tables for what base attack bonus does to your attack speed actually stop at 25. You don't actually get more offensive power beyond the actual attack bonus, as it were, beyond 25. So, like, those tables don't really go anywhere. It's also kind of weird that they keep going up. Like, right now, you know, it's up to 32 from 30, and the longer we wait to pull this Band-Aid off, the weirder it's going to get. That stat isn't really supposed to be something that players can really easily, like, modify. Like, that's just something that's supposed to be representative of your class choices. Furthermore, having more and more of your base attack bonus from non-class choices means that your class choices with regards to base attack bonus matter less and less comparatively. Like, It becomes less important over time for you to prioritize classes with high base attack bonus if you're interested in that stat, because more and more of the proportional pie is being granted by something that doesn't actually have anything to do with your class choices at all. And, like, anyway, there are a whole bunch of other, like, bizarro reasons, like, that kind of surround this, and the end result is we're just going to cap it at 25. Like, we're gonna rip that Band-Aid off, and it's not going to go above 25. And that's it.
Yeah, makes sense. That's some solid reason in there. Did you have anything to do with this character bank?
Not even a little bit. I have no idea how any of this works.
Okay.
That is a developer that very, very rarely shows up in the forefront. Zerka and a former intern of ours, SIC or SIC, who did a gigantic amount of work on the shared bank, and it's finally all coming together. And I'm thrilled. For me, I organize all of my stuff in numerous amounts of iconic deep gnomes that are named semi-bizarrely because some of these are weird farming tunes. Some of these just ended up as bank tunes. And so it's just atrocious. Like, my storage situation is a big mess. And like, it's just really bad. Like, I don't understand how on earth I have ever come up with a situation where I was like, obviously all of my XP gems, they're all in somebody named Gnome Life Bank Tune. And like, I just have to remember that for the rest of my life.
Just never forget them.
Never forget that guy. But yeah, so the ability to make specific tabs, so that, like, for example, if you've got stuff in your shared bank, like, for me, the shared bank stuff is actually more exciting because I tend to use my shared bank more for stuff that's shared between all of my characters. And the idea that, for example, a tab would be named like, leveling gear, you know what I mean? And then you put all your leveling gear in it, and then that's your leveling gear.
That would be so nice. I just click the tab instead of having to sort and do all this other nonsense. Like, the sorting is also very good. Like, I really like the sorting,
Yes.
and what have you. But having the sorting and the tabs, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's just great. Like, I think the whole thing is just great, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm really happy that we're able to preview it. Yes, that is the same intern that added the epic levels to the adventure list.
What else was I going to say?
If I can answer a weird chat question, by the way, looks like multiclassing into Sacred Fist doesn't make Paladin Fist Wraps a favorite weapon. So here's a weird fun fact. All of the religions are actually anti-requisited with one another, so if you multiclass into a divine from a divine, you don't get another pick of your religion.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because you just
don't.
Because you already picked a religion, so you can't take a new one. So if you start as cleric and then go into paladin, you can't take the paladin religion.
Yes. Yes. So there's also, like, this is another reason we were really trying to get this out to players is there are some pretty significant UX problems that actually relate towards feat and feat prerequisites when it comes to Sacred Fist. The bizarro bug about needing to be an Undying Court elf in order to get the level 6 feat aside, since that's just one of those things that happens in development. Like, the idea that, like, I saw you, because you're a veteran player, you knew immediately when you got to the Sacred Fist character creation feat screen that only yellow named feats go into the yellow named thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh, that's the only one I got, so you dragged it in no problem, because you have the history and the expectation of using that UI. If you're a new player and you clicked into it, because, again, these are free and Paladin is free, so, like, Sacred Fist, who wouldn't want to play Punch Paladin? That's a cool thing. You click into this, you're reading all your feats because we give you 17 books to read at the very beginning, and you drag a different religion feat into your feat as your chosen feat because it actually will let you do that. That will actually
you can play
prevent
as a non-fist paladin.
It actually will not. It will actually, so because they're anti-requisites to one another, that will actually remove the Sacred Fist feat from that list, meaning there's no option until you drag that other feat you took out. So you basically can not quite brick yourself, but end up in a situation where the UI cannot tell you what you're doing wrong. Like, that's really bad UX. That's actually, I would say that's we have to fix that before that goes live, because a new player will go, ooh, wow, I will pick this. And then they dragged the square peg to the square hole, like a valid choice. Like, the UI allowed them to do this. And yet it was broken and it broke their character. And that's really bad. And that's this sort of stuff, like, we need players to look at this and come up with situations, because I, as a developer, I have 5,000 or 6,000 hours in this game, and that doesn't count the time that I've spent working on it. So all of these pitfalls of someone who's unfamiliar with the UI, I don't experience them anymore because, like, I'm in the Matrix and it's all just numbers, but a new player is going to go like, hey, I broke my character, you ding dongs. You put a thing in here that if I press it deletes everything. And like, the answer can't just be, well, don't press that button.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we can't just say, well, don't don't do that. We have to build a UX that is appropriate.
Yeah, it's not the player's fault for following the instructions and getting lost. Like
Exactly.
they had the map in front of them and they went the wrong way because the map let them go the wrong way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The actual answer for this particular one is that I believe the right thing to do is to automatically grant this religion and it's level 6 thing. So it's not actually a choice, which means you actually might end up with more than one religion, which I think is okay. Like, I don't think that's a problem. It's just different in how the rest of them show up.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
like,
the only issue I could run into with that is like the thematics of the thing, like the theming, just how
yeah.
You have multiple religions on a character, like, and especially as a paladin, that doesn't make any sense because like a paladin would only be devoted to one cause. They're like very fanatical in that sense.
Yeah.
Could you just take away all the other religions so they don't display?
Now that we're moving them from paladin.
Because it's in paladin. I see.
Yeah. It's like that's another thing is like a sacred fist behind the scenes is mostly a paladin. Like it's somewhat not a paladin, but it's a little bit of a paladin. And it's just enough that like for example, what we don't want to do is if we add a feat to paladin, we then have to make sure that sacred fists are added to the allowed list. You know what I mean? Because they are a paladin. They need to be able to take paladin things.
Right. Would you be able to segment out that feat, like have like recommended feat or something, and just put it out separate from the list?
With great effort, I'm sure anything is possible.
That's true. You could just keep developing, and eventually you'll get there.
Yes. There's a lot of things we would love to do with character creation. Like our current way of recommending builds is what people would largely consider somewhat inadequate. And there's a lot of things we would like to do, and I think this is actually an important step. Like it breaks up some of character creation in a way that is quite cool. But it's like it's not a gigantic revamp of the path system. That's a very different feature.
Right, that makes sense. I'm just trying to look at other weird bugs and other things here. So Dark Apostates, just double checking on this, have no way to reduce the extra light damage they take in their tree. Because they don't get that. So they gotta like wait till epics for that or something else. And currently don't have a way to bypass negative damage immunity on undead. So like Pale Masters. Is that like a thing that you're aware of, you're cool with, or what?
Yeah, so what's quite interesting is that Dark Apostate and Divine Disciple, Divine Disciple, even if you're playing a Dark Divine Disciple, you actually get access to alignment spell power. So like you can just cast a light spell. Like you're a cleric.
Negative light and alignment spell power.
Also you're a cleric, just turn undead. Come on. Just blow them up. Disclaimer, only works until like level 26. But like for the first 26 levels.
Oh no, you can turn all the way through. Turn's awesome. I love turning.
Did we fix that?
Yeah, you can turn everything. In fact, actually, you can take,
goodness.
because turning isn't affected by epic levels at all, you can take a level 20 cleric into legendary content and turn stuff.
Well, we should fix that. We should make epic levels actually do contribute to that.
Yeah,
cool.
The example that I gave you is having like a charisma cleric with only charisma and every turn effect in the entire game. Put that aside.
Yeah, I mean, I think this thing is like that's a very interesting thing that DDO can do that other MMOs can't do. If someone wants to spec all into turn undead and turn everything, then that's phenomenally cool, and I like that people are able to do that.
That's another thing I like about the Fist Paladin, is that the Fist Paladin also gets the instant kill turning from Radiant Servant, so Paladin can now instant kill turn undead.
Yeah, they can also heal.
Cool.
I think that what's quite interesting is that it's not like without heavy armor, you are missing out on a considerable amount of defenses, specifically like obviously armor, but also just like the stuff on heavy. But I do think that a dodge tanking self-healing paladin would actually be quite interesting, like Sacred Defender and Radiant Servant together.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what people come up with and other things like that with that, because I think Radiant Servant's a good fit for Paladin, as odd as it is.
Yeah, it's strange, and like we really want to try and break these sorts of things. Like the like the like we want to give people not something that is as cookie cutter as it could be, because we really want people to experiment. So like Sacred Fist as Punch Paladin is a lot more than just Punch Paladin, because we're changing more than one aspect of the tree.
If people had ideas for how you can punch up Divine Disciple, or not Divine Disciple, Radiant Servant in Paladin, would you guys be open to that? Or would you rather Radiant Servant kind of just stays carbon copy to the other Radiant Servant, except with the words Paladin instead of Cleric?
I think that when it comes to direct tree copies, they actually should really stay pretty much exactly the same. Like, I'm actually kind of reconsidering changing the Wisdom to part Charisma. Like, I feel like it actually might be a good idea for the direct copies to remain identical. Like, obviously, like, class levels aside, you know?
Stuff that says, like, you need this many levels of Cleric, you change it to Paladin instead.
Yeah, and like that's very different than, like, for example, War Priest and War Soul, which over the years have diverged quite significantly. Like Vanguard and Vanguard is the same tree.
It's the same tree, exactly, yeah. It's identical. Cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to add onto this fun discussion that we've been having this afternoon?
Yeah, something we should mention. As part of our ongoing work to make Isle of Dread crash people using their sound less, we've done another pass on the soundscape to try and identify and remove malfunctioning sound effects.
Yeah.
So if you're the kind of person who, when they go into Isle of Dread with their sound on, crashes, please try it out on Lamania and see if it crashes there. Like we are. This is something that we're pretty sure is localized to either a specific set of drivers for a specific audio chip on a specific brand of motherboard, or is something to do with like maybe a misinstalled DLL. Like, it's a very particular bug, and as a consequence, none of us have any machines that actually hit this bug.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I've never had the crash, so.
Yeah, so like it's like, I don't know. We can start buying motherboards, off of eBay and see if one of them has a sound
just plug
card.
them in and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we are very much relying on people who are affected by this bug to check once this update comes out or on Lamania, is that our changes make a difference? Are you still crashing? If you are still crashing, please let us know. We have time to make more changes. And if you used to crash but are not, please also let us know so that we know that the stuff that we did made a difference.
Cool. That's great. I'm just looking at this right now. So Dark Apostate, very cool. They get Wisdom and damage in their tree, which is awesome because it's like a melee thing, and then you don't need Falconry, so you don't need to like pay for that, which is kind of cool. Which makes me think that the Fist Paladin should have Charisma and damage somewhere even more. But War Priest has like the Charisma Trance. Do you think you could get the Wisdom Trance that's in Favored Soul? Or do you think it's going to stay a War Soul thing as well?
I don't really want to add a trance to this tree. Like, I know that's not a good answer, or at least not what you're trying to hear. And furthermore, speaking of bad things you don't want to hear, I'm also not sure that Wisdom and Hidden Damage is going to stay inside Dark Apostate.
It's so cool, though. That's so cool.
I know. It's like it's. I know. It's not a good. I know it's not an answer you'd like to hear. But sometimes I have to deliver bad news. These are very much in flux right now, and might change sometimes significantly from what you're seeing on Lamania.
Change? I don't know, dude. I read on the forums that you guys never take feedback and never make changes. So
that is true.
I'm pretty sure this tree is not going to change. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You're just confusing me now.
No, the big thing is like this is a big new thing. It's got a lot of stuff in it.
It does.
So we're trying really hard to give you all a preview so that if you go, hey, this doesn't make any sense, you've got time to say, hey, this doesn't make any sense, and we go, oh, you're right, that doesn't make any sense. So, like, if you notice things that are like just don't make any sense or are wrong or you have questions, please let us know.
All right, cool. I don't really have anything more to add as of right now because I need to run around and play around with this a little bit more. Plus, also, it's been like a couple hours. You probably have like work to do or something.
Yeah, at some point. I have to go figure out why you can't take that second wisdom. Which tree was in that second wisdom you can't
Dark
take?
Apostate.
Dark Apostate.
Yeah.
What the hell did I put in there?
Well, it says wisdom, and it looks like wisdom, but I need charisma and wisdom that I don't have.
That's ridiculous. I don't know. The
Yeah, somebody needs to
also
get fired over this one. The plus one wisdom? That's a big blunder.
Yeah, sometimes things that are very easy, or at least seem very easy, are actually quite difficult. And this is one of the ones that is quite weird. What? That's ridiculous. It's its own new enhancement. Why is this getting mad at me? Oh, it has the wrong prereqs in it. Oh, that's an easy fix. Never mind. This one's very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be a Blade Forged and a Fist Paladin. That being said,
You have to lesser reincarnate, I think.
Yeah, you would need to lesser reincarnate. And I'm just trying to think whether or not you're also forced to take the Blade Forged religion. I think you actually get to choose.
I mean, I can test it.
I actually do not think you could take this because I'm pretty sure that's actually exclusive to. Oh no, wait, no, Blade Forged or Eberron. I'm a big dummy. I'm a big dummy. It's not a Forgotten Realms iconic at all.
Oh, can the Forgotten Realms iconics not choose Sacred Fist on Paladins?
I actually do not know the answer to that, and I'm pretty sure the answer may be yes. We've historically been limited by starting realm, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, it is what it is. Like the specific starting, like, specific races are limited by their realms gods.
Yeah, that makes sense. But the light one is not a god from either one.
It is an Eberron god.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It is.
Well,
it is actually
be Eberron
right
limited,
out of 3.5.
So it would be Eberron limited then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Sacred Fist is a specific. Sacred Fist is not a very uncommon name, so it will show up a lot.
Yeah, there's probably a Sacred Fist in like every
yes.
single like.
Yes, I believe the Path of Light is specifically a subset. It's a in the same way that the Silver Flame is part of a coalition. I think the Path of Light actually may be a coalition deity, like it's like a group of them. I think it's a Kalashtar thing. It is a Kalashtar thing.
Kalashtar thing?
Yes. Yeah,
because when you guys were talking about like extra classes, the only thing I could think of that would do something even kind of different would be like psionics, which does sound like a lot of work. Because pretty much everything else just fits into one of the base classes.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into why what we're doing with psionics, because if I say anything at all, people will.
Oh no! I wasn't expecting to say anything.
Yeah.
It's mostly just like when I'm thinking about the base classes, and so like because you said Kalashtar and they're psychic, so. And it makes me think that like this is a good direction to kind of keep the new classes sort of coming in, and then without actually having to worry about like actually adding a new class to the game.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm just really excited about this feature. I'm just really excited that it's all coming together, and I'm happy people are taking a look. I also really like the Lord of Blades opening.
Yeah.
Like for Blade Forge, I think it's just very cool. I like that these are really big.
Is that I don't know what if it's a problem with my computer, but I basically don't get to see it. Like the game takes so long to load or whatever when you first make your character that like it basically just starts me in front of the Lord of Blades, so I don't get to see the whole thing where he's talking to you when you're in the middle of the forge and he's like forging you.
House Kenneth once changed the entire Warforged race with their greed. So I just really like his lines.
Oh no, I like him too. I just want to be. I don't get to see him, which is sad.
Yeah, well, I don't have anything else to talk about other than like if you like this feature or if you don't, if you have any suggestions or comments or questions, please just post them on the cool forums, and we'll take a look. So that's all I got.
Cool. Well, thanks for tuning in today. I'm gonna tell you if you can actually take it on a Blade Forge, because I don't know, and I'm gonna go find out real quick. Wait, you said I can do it with a lesser reincarnation? I don't need to do like a +1 or whatever?
I am pretty sure that works. I did not.
How often do you have it during the day where you're like working on something and then you have the thought of, I'm pretty sure this works, but you have to
quite a lot. It's kind of the the D&D development way is like there's so many component parts to this game that you really just have to trust that everybody else is doing an excellent job and it'll all come together.
That makes sense. Did you design like all 3 of these things?
I did.
Whoa.
I did.
Cool.
Yeah. The one I'm most excited to play is obviously Dark Apostate.
It looks very, very cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. For me, I kind of want to play Fisty Paladin, because the idea of being a paladin, but then also having like you got the lay on hands, you got like the healing spells, you got like the turning, you got the fisting. It just seems really cool. It can do a lot of different things. I think people get bogged down in like the numbers, and they'll be like, it doesn't do as much damage, but it does a bunch of things that aren't necessarily damage, which is really cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, as I always say, like numbers are numbers. Like they're the easiest thing in the world to change. Oh, that portal does take you to the wrong place. I forgot to change the waypoint.
Yeah, you can't get back out to the Isle of Dread. There's no Isle of Dread here, so you have to like leave.
That's intended. Like we don't want people to go into that room anymore. But
I actually did have another question. This is specifically a hand wrap question. So 1,000 years ago, when there was the changeover, and no, you can't select an archetype. This is what I get.
Oh, you can't LR in. Oh,
I click. Oh, never mind. You can. I just had to click it, and it came up. Huh. I can be a Sacred Fist. Okay, hold on. And now. Feat selection says, I don't get a deity feat.
You just don't get anything?
You don't get a deity feat.
Okay.
I get the Follower of the Lord of Blades as a regular feat I can take, but I don't get a deity feat.
Okay, I know exactly what's going on. So you're leveling up as a Sacred Fist, which does not have the Blade Forge thing as an option in its special ability option choice. It just has the regular one. Like the regular is the what's it called? The hand wraps, Path of Light. That being said, you don't qualify for it because you're not a Forgotten Realms character. So you may take nothing. You have no religion.
So this is the only way to play Atheist Paladin.
That's right, Atheist Paladin. You have no religion. I think you can just take Follower of the Lord of the Blades if you really wanted a religion. That's so funny.
Oh man, I just don't have a religion. Favorite weapon? What's that? I'm busy.
What's that? I don't need that. That's really bad.
I don't have a religion feat. That's hilarious.
Oh my god, this is.
But I do.
This is why we go to preview.
Yeah.
Why we go to preview. Previews are important because I would have never thought reincarnate a Blade Forged. Oh my goodness. All right, I can fix that, no problem. I'm pretty sure I just fixed the wisdom thing. So next Lamania, that'll be good. Good gravy.
See, this is why we log into the preview server. This is why usually when the previews come up, I spend like 25 to 30 hours every preview just testing stuff and running into things.
Yeah, gotta get that. Gotta poke at cool stuff. This is your chance to get your cool changes in.
I gotta make the YouTube video.
That's true. You gotta get that content.
That's it. That's what it's all about. Okay. Well, I'll let you go here. You can get back to work, and I'll do something. Probably mess around with this and make a bunch of notes. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about like the new archetypes and stuff and what's going on. Very grateful that you took the time out of your day. I know obviously if you spent all this time working on this stuff, this probably takes a lot of time. So yeah, just appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and hopefully you don't find any more bugs. And
I won't find any more bugs.
That's right. The whole thing is going to be
the rest of it's
bug-free.
perfect. Yeah, bug-free.
Bug-free. All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye. Now, I self-interestedly also ended that call for another reason, which is that I have to go to the bathroom so bad. Oh my god. I'll be right back.